Okay, I'm just inside the portal of this abandoned gold mine. You can see the daylight coming in behind me. And let's check this out. Got ore cart tracks. That's metal rail. That's kind of interesting. Here's a more uniform cross tie, but yeah, it looks like there's a door down here, which I'm probably assuming, since it's so close to the portal, it's probably where they store dynamite. So the tunnel curves here to the left. Yeah, this was probably dynamite storage, I would assume. And we get our answer right there in the door. Danger explosives. Turn out light, please. That light is referring to the carbide lamps the miners used to use a long time ago, before batteries became popular. They had a flame inside the lamp, so you can see why they wouldn't want that inside this explosives locker. And I'm not sure what's back there, but I'm not going to go back there. But that's what this was, where they stored the dynamite. So let's continue down the main haulage tunnel, where there is some airflow, which is a good sign that the mine is well ventilated. So here you see some blue. That's probably ventilation tubing that would have been strung up, up near the top of the tunnel arch, and air pumped through it for ventilation deeper in the mine. This mine apparently has 6 levels. The bottommost level apparently is flooded. And right there, looks like those, I wonder if that's, don't know what those are. I was going to say it looks like a blower, but I don't think it's that. If anybody knows what those are, let us know in the comments. Kind of looks like a hybrid between an ore cart wheel and a winch, some kind of crazy contraption. But anyway, let's keep going down the main tunnel here. Pretty smooth in here, the ground, not a lot of rubble. You can see the ore cart tracks. These 2 pipes on the right would have been for water or air or steam to power the drills deeper in the mine. You always see these pipes next to ore cart tracks. That's how they did it. And of course the ventilation tubing would have been hung, up here. So we've got a split here. Tracks going to the left and tracks continuing straight ahead. Another door. Nothing really in here. This is probably another explosives locker, I'm guessing. Nothing on the door that says that, but that's what I'm guessing. So yeah, here's this, wow, I just hit my head. That's why we wear helmets. Here's this track switch. I really don't see these too often in abandoned mines. They're usually ripped out. That's pretty cool. That's how they controlled where the cart went. That's looking back the way we came. And here's looking at the switch. So it's funny they had the tracks go that way to what was probably the explosives locker. Interesting. They may have continued down that way though. But we'll take the main tunnel here. Now, I got some collapse here, so got to be careful. This must have been a very unstable area. Yeah, it sort of even, my voice sounds kind of muffled in here. Even my footsteps. here's a big ore chute in the tunnel. Look at that. That's about 2.5 feet wide. That's where we came from. Yeah, check that out. Let me get back away from it. So there are obviously stopes or levels above us that the miners would dump the ore down into these chutes, and it would come out into an ore cart waiting right here on the tracks and be shipped outside. Still have a nice breeze blowing through here. That's kind of interesting. I wonder what this pipe was for on the left-hand side of the tracks. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a pipe on the left-hand side of ore cart tracks. They're always usually on the right, or seem to be always on the right. Maybe this was for electricity, because this is some kind of circuit box or something. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know. Would a pipe that big be used for electricity, for wiring? Another door. Nothing written on the back side of this one. That's just another storage room. And it might have went somewhere at one time, but not anymore. Let's get back out to the main haulage tunnel. Okay, this part of the main haulage tunnel has a lot of branches here. Tracks go off to the left, continue straight ahead, and there's a separate set of tracks over here, which I don't know where those would have come from. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's probably leads back to that room that we've just looked into. Another massive ore chute with some metal chute gate. So yeah, this was a pretty serious mine. And it looks like a fire was in here, like I was mentioning. All this is blackened. Another big ore chute right here, obviously. Yeah, it's just clogged with rubble. I think this just loops around. Yeah. Yeah, that's where we just were. Well, I'm gonna keep going straight here, and then we'll come back and check out that branch right there that goes off to the right. Here's one of those large metal sheets, muck plates, that they'd put down on the ground of the tunnel when they were blasting, so they could haul the rubble out on the sheet. Here's another massive ore chute with a metal chute gate that's just loaded with rubble, ready to come out. Wow, I've never seen these round cylinders. Oh yeah, they're loose. They move. Some kind of counterweight. There's a cable, a thin cable that goes up. There's a pulley, and it goes up here to that pulley, and then to the chute gate. So that's how they opened up the gate. But I wonder how they got that to move in the first place. Anyway, yeah, I've never seen a pulley system used on a wooden/metal ore chute to open up the gate, which is right here. This metal door, this metal gate. That's pretty cool. So we'll continue this way. More valves and piping. Well, here is the first interior shaft, basically vertical. Jeez, I don't know how far down that goes. But there's the sheave wheel that would have had the cable. And yeah, I trying to see if I can see down there. Wow, floor right there. It's got some wooden beams underneath it, but I don't know. I took a peek over the edge of that vertical shaft. That goes way down from what I could see. I really can't take too many more of those crossings right there. I really get sketched out. I know there's about 1.5 or 2 feet of space there to walk, but I just, I don't know, it really creeps me out. So here's where the hoist and winch, or the engine, the hoist for the shaft would have sat, right here on this wooden platform, and then it would have, cable would have been right there on that sheave wheel. But yeah, I did not like coming through there. So let's continue on down the main haulage tunnel. Have to come back and go past that one more time on the way out, which I'm not looking forward to. So check out that. There's a pillar. Tunnel kind of splits here. Uh-oh. Here's another winds and something over there. And I wonder how... See, that's a false floor right there. Yeah, I had heard about a decade ago when I was researching this place initially. It goes down on a sharp slant, that some parts of this main haulage tunnel floor were only a couple inches thick. And that's why they wanted to close up this mine, which they did do. I think they closed it about 10 years ago. But people are still coming in here, obviously, and that's what they were talking about, like right there. That false floor is only, what, 5 or 6 inches thick, if even that. So you have to ask yourself, am I brave enough to walk over that? So here's a heavily timbered section, and look up above here. That is a huge stope. Let me turn my lights up here. Wow. You can see there, they left a pillar, but that's a stope. And here's all this timbering. Oh, please don't tell me this is another hole I have to cross. Jeez. Oh yeah, that's the stope. It continues way down below here. So what's above us was that I just showed you that stope, and then here's the main haulage tunnel, and then the stope continues down. Yeah, I can see what they were saying about the main haulage tunnel floor being undercut by really deep voids. Well, I made it across that. That's the third crossing I've had to do, and I really don't like doing those. I think I'm maxed out on those kinds of crossings, so if there's any more up here, I don't think I'm going to do it, because I got to come back and redo them on the way out. Looks like there might be a collapse up here. That valve has a colored handle. Okay, let me squeeze through this collapse and we'll continue on checking out the main haulage tunnel. Okay, just squeeze through that, and that's a short dead end. And here's some miner's graffiti from 1942, September 2nd. Yeah, this mine was initially dug in the 1890s and then was worked, early 1900s until the war effort shut all the gold mines down. I think that was in 42. And then it was bought and resold a couple times, I think, and last worked in the 1970s. It hasn't been worked since. So look how the tunnel kind of does a zigzag there. So the airflow seems to have stopped, and it's more humid, a little bit humid back here, and the air's just not blowing like it was. Some nice color there. So I don't know how much further we can go here. This might be it. Remnants of an old ladder. Look at that. Broken rungs. Well, it looks like there's a spot to squeeze through there. And it does continue, I can see. Okay, that's where we just came from. I had to climb up over this collapse, and that's exactly what this is. This is not an ore chute or an ore pass. You can see right there where my light is. All of these boulders and rubble that are right here in this section of the haulage tunnel. Haulage tunnel continues that way right there. This all fell from here. Look at that. That's what happened here. This was a major collapse. So we're headed that way. Continuing onward. Wow, here's a sharp turn to the left. Actually, it's not. That's the end. Wow, I thought there'd be a lot more on this main haulage level. Well, we can go back to that one junction and take that branching tunnel that we didn't do on the way in. But yeah, that's as far as we can go on this main level. Had I known it stopped back there, I wouldn't have climbed over this massive collapse right up here in front of us. But now we know. Well, so here you get to see me cross the first of 3 holes that I've already crossed on the way in. Yeah, like I said, that goes way down. They call that a winch. A winch is a narrow shaft like this in a tunnel floor that goes down to lower areas, and boy, does that go down. That's at least a couple hundred feet, I think. I'm not sure. It's really deep. But the board held on the way in, so here we go. Like I said, I really don't like doing these. I get real sketched out, and luckily this board is nailed in place. If this board wasn't here, I couldn't do this. And if it wasn't nailed in place, I don't think I could do it either. Both feet are on the plank. I'm avoiding looking down because there's nothing to see except death. And, oh my gosh, here we go. 1, 2, 3. And here's this one up here. This one's not so bad. It's got a wide berth, but still it's a false floor, so it's not a solid rock under here. Lower levels could be accessed by that ladder, but I'm by myself today and I'm not about to do that. Like I said, there are 6 levels to this mine. I think they're all lower levels below this one. So there's probably a lot to see. To be quite honest, I was surprised that this main haulage tunnel wasn't longer than it turned out to be. Here's that pillar again in this burned out section. Yeah, pretty cool. Let's go back this way. It's got some timbering here. And then here's the big vertical shaft. Well, that's on an incline, but what is that? An 80-degree incline? It's almost vertical. But I just got to get past this spot right here. God, if you fell in there, that just would be the horrible way to go. Okay, the exit's that way. I'm at this junction, and we did not go down this left branch. So let's check this out. Maybe this left branch is the main haulage tunnel, and we'll go a whole lot further than what that other branch just did. Yeah, there was definitely a fire here. See that? That's burned. And some collapse, I guess, big boulders. Well, here is another drop-off. This is an inclined shaft. Look at that winch. Always cool to find equipment like this in the mines. Wow, that is huge behind there. That's the winch back there, that bigger round thing. I see cable coming off of it right there. That's just the motor, I guess. The generator or whatever. And you can see the inclined shaft. There's the rails going down. That's pretty steep. There's a bunch of ladders and stuff kind of just all collapsed up there in that stope. And the tunnel does go this way, but it looks like it dead ends at an ore chute down there. So yeah, there's 6 levels, so there's 5 more levels probably below this one. And you'd have to climb down some of those ladders. Maybe on a future trip, but not right now, that's for sure. So we're headed back out towards the exit, I guess.